now with us about 10 people, and I think so people will start coming in. We'll take the beginning slow, so everyone can join. And let me introduce you first. أول شيء I would like to thank everyone. شكرا للجميع الحضور وقبول دعوتنا. نتمنى انه في الويبينار هذه نقدر نكون في الاوبجيكتيف انه to support everyone with what's happening in the customer experience with the new world COVID-19. It's very important that we advise that to provide this advice we are giving here is provided may not be suitable for everyone. We recommend that everything that you would like to implement need to be tailored to your specific business needs. The end of 15 minutes or 10 minutes, there will be question and answers through typing. Thank you, Joey, for accepting and joining us today. I hope this will not be the first one. We hope that we could arrange a new subject by the coming week. We are planning to do that to support everyone who could really benefit of what we are planning to do.
Thanks, Walid. I think it's been great to be able to give back to the business community in Saudi and to help the business people and government people on how to effectively address the COVID-19 crisis.
Okay, thank you, Joey. So let's start with the first question. What makes the COVID-19 crisis unique? What's different?
Yeah, so I think this is a really good question, and I think it's a good starting point to understand that COVID-19, what makes COVID-19 unique is really that it's a high emotional impact event. This is an event that's having significant impact not only on people, but communities. So from a high level, it's a high emotional intensity event. And I think it's important to appreciate that in customer experience, we understand that events that are negative in nature tend to be remembered a lot longer by our customers. The second thing that makes COVID-19 unique is really that it has a dual impact. You've got the impact on humans, which is the health aspects, and then the health aspects are addressed, and the solution for the health aspect is about isolation and social distancing and getting people to not move around at home, not move around at the workplace. So the solution to the health problem creates a more deeper secondary problem, which is the economic. So you have a dual impact. One is the people side and the health side, and the actual solution to the health side creates a much deeper problem, which is the economic side of things. Mm-hmm. The other thing as well about COVID-19 is it's kind of similar and dissimilar to other crises that we've experienced. So during 9/11, if you cast your mind back to 9/11, 9/11 was very concentrated in the US, and it had a significant impact in New York. And eventually, over time, we all got to feel the impact because security levels increased at airports, our ability to move freely to different countries all changed. Unlike 9/11, this is global in nature. It has a much larger impact, and it's probably most similar to the GFC, or the global financial crisis. So in the global financial crisis, it was global in nature, and then a lot of us did feel the impact, but that impact was only economic in nature. In COVID-19, you have economic and you have the health aspects as well. And the other thing as well that makes it unique is that we're all feeling the impact more immediately than other crises before. Other aspects that make it also very unique is the fact that we're dealing with an invisible enemy. So we can't see the, the danger, so to speak. In fact, the only way we see the danger is that it's contained in other people. So the threat that's visible to us is actually other people and the fact that they could give us COVID-19. Notice there's some questions coming up. We will have a question and answer session at the end. So please keep noting the questions, but we'll leave that till the end of the presentation. I think that's also unique about COVID-19 is the fact that it's impacting people's most basic needs. Needs like employment, like health. And I'm going to cover that in greater detail a little bit later on. And the last thing I wanted to sort of highlight that makes this crisis unique is that it's a bit of a race against the clock. What I mean by that is that because of the exponential nature of things the diseases and the spread in the human population, it's about how quick you can respond to contain it. So the longer you leave this crisis, the actual worse it actually gets. So there is this race against the clock to try and contain before it becomes out of control. So I think the fast-paced nature of this and the fact that there is an urgency around containing it before it gets out of control is something that's really important as well. So does that answer your question, Walid?
Yes, it does. And one very important point, you're right, that it highlighted that really it's affecting the economic and the health section in both areas for everyone. Going to the second question, which is linking in for the first one, how is COVID-19 going to affect people behavior? You know, in the customer experience, this is the most, as they say, temperature or how customer experience works is it's behavior of consumer. It's either the consumer was under the government, which is a customer who works for the government, or even is benefiting from the government for any situation or need. And this is what's happening now. And even for B2B, which is B2C, B2B customers.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that we're going to discuss today. One is understanding the behavioral changes. And the second one is really understanding how people's expectations have changed out of the result of what's happening psychologically to them, right? So to answer this question about people's behavior, I really wanted to refer to a psychological theorist. And a good way of helping understand the psychology of what's going on is to visit Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So Maslow was a psychologist that had a theory. I'm going to put the diagram up now. So the theory has basically is a 5-stage model that's based on basic human deficiencies as a way of explaining how people are motivated into action. So the deficiencies are needs that, when they are unmet, motivate people into action. So the original model had these 5 categories, which you see there: the physiological needs, safety needs, love, esteem, self-actualization. And the model was later expanded to include the cognitive, the aesthetic, and the transcendence, which you see on the left-hand side there. So what Maslow states is that the motivation necessary to fulfill such needs increases the longer they are denied. So for example, if a person goes without food the hungrier he or she will become. And then their primary action will be to find food to feed that hunger. So people throughout their lives move up the levels in the pyramid as each need is in fact met. What the theory highlights is that a person will not be motivated into action to achieve any top level need if their basic essential needs are not met first. So in the case of COVID-19, what we find is that some of the many needs that we have taken for granted are being challenged, such as health, personal security, food supply, employment, shelter, and sleep. So based on this theory, we can argue that before the crisis, many people were motivated to meet top-level needs such as self-esteem and self-actualization and the aesthetic. However, we've seen a reversal in the priorities, and needs that have a lower priority over more important ones, such as health, employment, and personal securities have become more important now. So these more basic unmet needs are shaping behavior more profoundly than before. Why? Because they are linked to survival. So the more people feel that their survival is threatened, that their lives have been threatened, the more they become panicked, more fearful, and develop anxiety. So these emotions drive such behaviors such as what we're seeing today in countries such as hoarding of food, aggressive antisocial behaviors towards perceived threats, such as Asian tourists, as an example. So anywhere where people see there is a threat, people are going to respond with an instinct for survival. And that's really what is happening today, is this reversal of priorities that we didn't have before COVID-19.
So Joey, just to highlight that, you mean here that people are becoming more defensive?
Well, yeah, yes. As soon as people have their basic needs being, the survival ones. So all the ones that you see at the bottom in the pyramid, the physiological needs, they're the most essential needs. They are linked to our survival, and we can move beyond that unless those basic needs are met. And what we're seeing is this is a strong aggression with people, lots of anxiety, because people, it's that fight or flight. People are trying to respond towards their survival instincts, essentially.
Good.
Okay. So, Walid, did you want to introduce this topic?
Yes, it was just freezing. Now it's okay. Okay, good. Now, after we have spoken about the behavior, we would love to hear from you. What are the new customer expectations likely to be with the changes that happening? Customer expectations linking to the new behavior with COVID-19 is extremely changing, because as you highlighted that the people now want to live. So their expectations is that when they want to reach out to a provider, service provider, it's in the need, I'm reaching out to be solved now. This is something important for me. So what do you think that likely it will be?
Okay, so I think the best way to sort of understand the new customer expectations is that they will evolve over time, really depending on the emotional stage that the person is in, and in a large degree, the community as well. So the three stages that are generally accepted with dealing with a crisis is, the first one is the fear stage. This is the stage where people are panicked, they are fighting for their survival. And there is that strong level of anger that comes out. And then there is the acceptance stage, followed by eventually the growth phase, which is how do I move on and forward with this with this particular crisis? And we're going to cover these in a minute. But it's important to understand that people have different expectations depending on which stage they're in. And there is one important expectation that will be common amongst all of the three stages. And that is the expectation that the organization that I'm dealing with can guarantee my personal safety from catching COVID-19. So guaranteeing personal safety is the number one expectation that customers will have, or people will have. When I'm transacting with the business, I have an expectation that you will make me feel comfortable, that the company can provide me an assurance that they are protecting my health and my ability to not catch COVID-19. So they need to feel comfortable at the point of transaction. The other thing about these customer expectations is they are going to be different in different countries. What I mean by that is that if the impact is stronger in one particular country, the expectation that you will protect me will be much greater. So for example, Italy and the United States will have very different expectations than, say, places like Australia, where it hasn't been as impactful. The other thing that's important is that if your customer base is made up of a lot of elderly people, then expectations are going to be different than younger people, because they are the more vulnerable. They are people who are more likely to be impacted if they catch COVID-19. So it will depend on the country and demographic as well. So the next one is, I have this slide up. Can you see it, Walid?
Yeah.
Okay. So with each stage, you have the fear, acceptance, and growth stage, and there are influencing elements that we have. We have the customer mindset. What's going on in the mind of our customers? The second one is the customer behavior. What is the typical customer behavior that we're seeing? What are the transactional expectations that a customer wants when they do business with an organization? And the next one is, what type of relationship do I expect from my customer, from my brand? And the type of communications as well that are preferred from an organization. So let's have a look at the fear stage, because I think a lot of people are still in that fear stage. Some have moved on to acceptance, and definitely no one has moved on to the growth phase yet. So in the fear stage, the mindset is, I'm shocked, I'm fearful, I'm anxious, I'm angry, I fear that I might die, I might lose everything. There's a high level of anxiety in the mind of people. And their behavior is about survival. They're panic buying, they're argumentative in behavior. They're obsessed with news about COVID-19, and they're very, very anxious in the way they see the world and they see the future. In terms of transactional expectations, they expect zero contact. That's the most preferred method of transacting. They're looking at home delivery, online purchasing as an example. And the relationship they're expecting from their brands is this. They're expecting that they show care, that you are out to help people. Reassure me that things are going to be okay. Inform me of the changes. They're seeking trust in the brand at this point. The preferred communication they're looking at is calm, empathetic, constructive, clear communication. They don't want to be sold to. And they want confidence that you are taking all the measures to protect not only your staff, but your customers as well. And as you evolve into different stages like acceptance and growth, things are going to change. So for example, in the acceptance stage, the the types of transactions they'll be seeking is zero contact preferred, but they might be seeking a light touch. What they want to be seeing is visible hygiene best practices at each customer touch point. They want to know it's a safe place. They want to know that your processes are functioning properly to ensure good hygiene. And the relationship that they're seeking are things like you're changing your model to serve me better. You're demonstrating trust through visible actions that you're doing at each transaction point, and that you are part of the solution, that you're working with them to address this current very difficult situation. So I'm not going to go through every single phase, but we can make this slide obviously available to all of the participants later on. But I guess the key point is that throughout each stage, fear, acceptance, growth, people are going to have different expectations, how they do business, the types of relationships they have with organizations, and their preference for the types of communications that come out from organizations.
Just a small question,
Yeah.
Joey. But when do you think that we could be, or everyone could be, in the growth stage? I know we are now not even in the acceptance stage.
No.
Because from our side here, Ramadan is coming, and people are not expecting or not accepting that until now how Ramadan will come, because there are some crucial Islamic prayers that in Ramadan, like Taraweeh and all of that. So the acceptance, I think so, will not happen until Ramadan comes and they start accepting that, this is true. We cannot do this. We need to do something else. So when do you think growth will happen? Will that be 2 or 3 months from now?
Yeah, I think this is it's all up to every country to we've heard this term before, flatten the curve. Okay, so we need to stop seeing, once a country stops seeing the daily increases going in that exponential level, and that they actually are on the decline, that's when people are going to slow down, start accepting it, and start looking forward to the future. But until you start seeing that graph declining in terms of the number of infections every day, we're not going to get to that level. So, what we're hoping is that countries are taking this seriously. They are ensuring that they do the testings of people, that they do the social distancing, have very strict rules about social distancing to reduce the daily increases. And it's only when that happens that we can start looking at opening up the economy again and looking at more positive ways to deal with this current situation. Okay, should we go on to the next topic?
Okay, then now, what should organizations be doing now to address the crisis from a customer experience and perspective? What should we do?
Okay, actually, before I answer the what organizations should be doing from a customer experience perspective, I wanted to just give a broad overview of what organizations really should be doing to address this crisis. And then we can, I think, move towards the more specific ones around customer experience. But I think that from a broad perspective is organizations need to work out how they're going to keep financially trading over the next 9 to 12 months. And that's the first thing that organizations need to do. How do I keep people, or what number of people do I need to let go to ensure that I'm financially viable over the next 9 to 12 months period? So, and unfortunately, there is some very hard decisions that organizations need to make, some cost cutting that they need to do. But what they need to do is aim to preserve and protect their organizations as much as possible so that they can survive at the other end of this crisis and they can remain financially viable. So the first thing is really having a defensive strategy. So these are the typical sort of defensive strategies, is to protect and preserve the organization in a time of crisis. After you've done that and you've got a plan about how you're going to defend your organization and keep it financially viable, the next one is to move towards offensive strategies. And that's really trying to work out how you're going to keep trading during the crisis and how you're going to continue to remain relevant to your customers during and after the crisis. And to remain relevant, you really might think about pivoting your business model in some way. So we've seen a lot of organizations do that successfully. They've shifted to online, they've done home delivery models, and they've started offering customers new services that weren't previously available. These are the offensive strategies. And what I encourage people to do is not only look at the cost cutting, which are defensive strategies, but really focus on business growth, business sustainability, and offensive strategies. Don't overlook the importance of having an offensive strategy.
Just commenting on what you have said, this is what you have seen here in Saudi, that some of the food and beverages who are, two of them on the, food and beverage companies have moved to more fast-paced, minimizing, the COVID-19 interaction or touch, which is like there is a pizza, without naming, I don't want to name it, that they give you the pizza, deliver it to you, half cooked, so you could take it in 10 minutes. There is a burger company here, which is one of the Saudi burger companies, recognized one. They send you a box, raw meat with full onions. I hope that I'm not making everyone hungry, but with onions and ketchup and everything, with the full meal, so you could cook the burger at home with a safe and without any threat of having COVID-19 in that area. I think so. Just commenting on that technology transformation is a very crucial change happening now. I think so, Joey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those organizations that had a robust online business model to complement their bricks and mortar are obviously going to do a lot better than those that had a weak digital solution. Shall we move on to the next one?
Okay, now the question which I was in hurry to get an answer from you, which is what should the organization be doing to meet these new customer expectations with the changes that are happening? Customer expectations are changing, relating to the diagram that you have shown a few slides ago, that until now people are in a situation that we are not in the acceptance, so the expectations are changing.
Yeah, I think the best way to answer this question is my biggest recommendation would be that anyone who's on this webinar, who's a customer experience professional, is to go back to the basic customer experience principles. So basic 101 principles about customer experience. So these 101 basic principles are things like know your customer, understand what they value the most, eliminate the pain points, and provide services to meet what your customers value the most. So if you adhere to these basic principles about customer experience, you will be able to adapt and be able to meet these new customer expectations. I think the most important point is understanding that the thing that customers value the most right now is being protected from harm and getting an assurance from the organization that your hygiene practices are very much world-class. What I've done, Walid, is put together 10 actions that an organization can take to help meet these new customer expectations. So I'll run through these now. So this is a list of 10 practical actions that any organization can take to address these new expectations. So the first one is about changing the market communications so that you're more empathetic with the pain and challenges experienced by customers and employees. So change the tone, change what you're saying to both customers and employees. That's the first one to address. But if you're, what we don't want to see is that companies are just advertising like there's nothing happening. You know, it's not business as usual anymore. And people need to acknowledge that and address that through their market communications. The second one is to be more proactive and provide communications to customers to help alleviate any anxiety and fear. So don't sell to them until the impact has subsided. And ensure you communicate your new trading hours. So be proactive to customers. Tell them that you're aware of the situation, that you're taking action to help reduce the anxiety and fear. So be part of the solution and not part of the problem by trying to sell them more during this very difficult time. The third one is you need to redesign your direct customer contact processes so they are as contactless as possible. You need to ensure crowd management practices are incorporated and implement a working from home model for employees. And I know a lot of people have already implemented a working from home model, but I want people to start thinking, people should start thinking about crowd management. So if you have a bricks and mortar business where people come into your office or shop, you need to make sure that you have controls about how many people can be at any one place, where they're standing, and make sure you have very controlled practices to ensure the safety of your customers and employees. Number 4. So after you've done that, you need to align your work practices to your brand identity and your cultural values. So the last thing we want to do is see organizations abandon what they stand for and not adopt any cultural values that they've had before the crisis. I think it's important to incorporate your true cultural identity. And one of the best examples I can give you of that one is Tiffany's. So Tiffany's sent out a message that they're shutting their stores, but they were very good in communicating that they're a brand that's all about love and caring. And in line with their love and caring values, the important thing is that people were able to be safe. And for now, that's the best thing for them to do. So they managed to incorporate their brand values into their messaging. So that's, I think, really important. The next one is to design and document your hygiene practices for your business. And more importantly, for any partners that have physical customer contact. So even though you might be an online business, don't forget that the person, the delivery guy, who gives the product to your customers could be the person who compromises your brand. So make sure that the end-to-end contacts that are happening, whether it's by your employees or by your partners, are adhering to very strong hygiene practices. Number 6, once you've put these practices in place, you then need to procure both the resources and the equipment you require to implement these new hygiene and crowd management practices. So think about what practices you can implement that will make your customers feel comfortable and are aligned to government regulations about social distancing, and make sure you have the right sort of technology and equipment to deliver on that. So number 7, I think this is going to be very important, but you need to implement staff training on new hygiene practices, and secondly, on how to show more empathy towards customers. I think it's going to be very important that staff are properly trained, and not only do they understand the importance of hygiene practices, but also the importance of empathy with different types of customers, especially the elderly need special care, and to understand how they must be feeling, have the vulnerability of how your customers might be feeling. Number 8 is to implement any environmental changes in the workplace, so execute the physical changes in the workplace. And then number 9 is it's important that you provide very clear and visible communications to customers about both your hygiene and your crowd management practices. It needs to be very visible, and you need to do it through external communication. People need the assurance that you have their best interests at heart and that you are going to protect them from the potential catching of COVID-19. And the last one is really important as well, is the final practical actions is you need to adjust and adapt your practices as the crisis evolves, as the government introduces new rules, as we get new guidance about this virus. And then also be mindful as customers move from the acceptance to the growth phase, then they're going to be more receptive to new offers. They're going to be interested in spending more money, and be able to be more comfortable about any new business offerings that you might be able to give them. Do you have any questions on that, Walid, on the 10?
I have just 2-3 points. Going back to knowing your customer, I think so you were highlighting here, which is the persona, understanding your customer, knowing who exactly, how do you interact with them. Am I correct here in translating what you have said in knowing your customer?
Yeah, absolutely. It's knowing your customers, but I think what COVID-19 has done is normalized the number one priority of looking for as a customer. Of course, I'm looking for something, I'm still looking for the, low effort and all of that sort of stuff. But you know what? If I have to wait longer in line, but I'm going to be safe, that's going to be more important than the low effort value that a customer may have.
Yeah. And one more thing is that to the point of communication and interactions, I think so you have highlighted that one of the important things that any organization need to be available 24/7 online to support, because I can see that in a lot of organizations that they are either not available online and short on interacting, and that with a very good as they say position in the social media, but unfortunately they are not that active when you are really touching them and requesting for the support. I think so. It's very important to utilize that area.
Yeah.
All of these customers and everyone who really cares need to be available 24/7 online, and I think so. All of these areas are there.
Yeah.
We can move. Yeah.
Which I think leads us to the next good topic.
Yeah, exactly. Can you provide us some examples of what some organizations are doing that is working really here?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you some examples from Australia and the UAE, and then I might pass it on to you, Walid, to give some Saudi examples. So what we've seen in Australia is a lot of the large food franchises are doing really well. So we've seen companies like McDonald's and Domino's Pizza, for example, actively promote their contactless transactions in their if you order. We've seen McDonald's pivot their business in Australia, where you can now not only go get a burger, but you can get basic food items like eggs, milk, and bread from McDonald's now, in addition to getting your basic burger and fries fix. In supermarkets, we've seen some fantastic adaptations. We've seen Perspex glass put up between the cashier and customers. They're wearing gloves, they're wearing masks, they're sanitizing the trolley. They've got someone with a sanitizer, making sure the trolleys are sanitizers. And they put markers on the floors where people should stand to ensure compliance with social distancing laws. So we've seen lots of good adaptation there. In the UAE, from a government perspective, UAE government has been very strong in digitizing their services. And what we've seen with the UAE government is proactively promote to citizens how they can access government services online 24/7. And so that proactive push towards letting people know that services are still available, they can still access them online, is really an important one. What about in Saudi? What's happening in Saudi?
Yeah, here in Saudi, we are very fortunate that from the government sector that the government are really supporting in a lot of things. For example, support of really big amounts for the SMEs. They have removed a lot of fees, even the simple fees, which are if you're transferring money. This is from an economic impact. Support is there. From a safety and health impact, a lot of retailers are moving to empathy and supporting. You could see that when you're interacting with anybody over there, he's trying to support you with a very simple and helpful way. Hope we are not there, we didn't reach, but I think so with the 24/7 that we could see everyone is working and to develop to really reach to a level that with the restrictions and the changing, because we could see every 3-4 days there is a rule here and there is something new happening, and everyone is in a shock. You just, as they say, move from a shock to a new shock. It's nothing. That ability is not there, but this is something we see. Most of all the retailers, and you could see the hygiene are safe, hoping that people are even monitoring who are not there. They inform the police about it, and the police really take actions for people who are abusing that area. Alhamdulillah, I could see that. I hope that everyone is in peace and safety with what's happening. We are surviving in a very good situation here.
Yeah, I think every country is trying to do their best. Some are doing it better than others, but we are in unprecedented situation. No one has seen this before in our lifetime. So, but it's good to see some of the governments, our respective governments, doing some very proactive work. I think we're up to our last topic.
Yes. The $1 million question, as they say. When do you think we will return back to normal? We are now in the fear section.
Yeah,
Until now,
I think. Yeah.
We didn't. So I would really like to hear from you. When do you think that?
Yeah, I get asked this question a lot, and it is $1 million question. I think the way I'll answer it is this. I don't think we will ever return back to normal unless a vaccine is confirmed. Till we don't know that time frame as to when the vaccine is. The great thing is there's lots of vaccines currently in trial. But until someone says we have a winner, that this vaccine is the one that's going to work, and they can produce it on mass basis. So remember, it's not just about finding the vaccine. It's actually about having enough quantities to give people the vaccine that they, the immunity that they require to go back to full normal. What I think is going to happen is that it's not a true return to normal. What we're likely to see is a highly controlled return to work. What I mean by that is that we're looking at a staggered return to work for various industries with very strict rules around the number of people in the workplace and the types of face-to-face transactions that can actually that can actually happen. What I don't want to see, and I'm hoping to God we don't see this, is what Singapore did. So Singapore did the lockdown and then people returned back to work. And if you have a look at the Singapore numbers, you will see some very strong spikes in new COVID-19 infections. So that's a real lesson for a lot of other countries, is don't just send people back to work, but do it in a controlled way with strict rules. Otherwise, you're going to get a very strong negative impact that's going to have a more severe impact on the economy than what we currently have. I think also when we start seeing technology being introduced to track people and the number of infections and people in close proximity to people who have had these infections, could be a part of the solution. So I know Apple and Google are working together to introduce this new application, and the application is due to be released in May. So we're hoping that that will also help to helping people return back to work. I think the new normal will be about having all of the workplace elements that I've just discussed in the previous section to protect your employees and to give the confidence to your staff, to your customers, that they are protected, is really the way that we will be able to return to a modified version of the new normal. I think that's the best way I can answer it, Waleed.
Yeah, I think so, Joey. From a business perspective, I think so. Business will not get back to normal. I'm not saying get back to normal from a growth perspective. I'm saying, the usual business attraction will not be the same. People will change from the way how they did business, how they worked in the business. I think so. This is something expected. People, because they already tested and the employee already tested something they are maybe comfortable with. And I think so they are not expecting, and already expenses are there. So I will leave this for a subject maybe later we could discuss. I don't want to discuss it now. And we could go to the second slide if you'd like.
Yeah, I think we're up to questions and answers. So I've just highlight to people that there is a Q&A section. Q&A section. Okay, so that's not a question. This is So
there,
I think we've hopefully answered that, Yahya.
yeah, I tried to see what's the problem, but I don't think so. mean, there is because I hope that we could do. We did answer him and we supported.
Yeah.
So
Well, while we're waiting, oh, here we go. So we have the first one. So I need to ask about how the impact of transfer to the digital service on my clients. If it's a new experience, I need to ask about how the impact of transfer. I think the question I understand, Hannah, is how do you expect customers who've never done digital to all of a sudden transfer to digital? Can you just let me know if that's my correct understanding? Yeah. Okay. So thank you for that, Hannah. I think the with lots of education is the simple answer. We have seen here in Australia TV ads from banks educating people about online banking, showing them how to fill in the forms, how to register for online banking. So they've used this opportunity to educate their customer base about how to access online. I would strongly recommend video as the best form to educate people. People don't want to see pictures or whatever. They'd rather see a video explaining how it's done, simple steps. The simpler, the better. But I think the other thing people will maybe struggle with is if you have elderly customers, then they may struggle a little bit with online and the use of online. I think one of the challenges I've seen is some call centers haven't been able to adapt quick enough, and they haven't been able to provide any voice calls. So the only thing they've provided is chat. Now, you try telling a 60-year-old how to use chat. They're not going to be able to do it. So people are going to struggle with things like that. Here's another, we have another question.
Yeah, can I just add something to what you have said to Hannah? Hannah, I think so. If we go back to what Joey highlighted, is you need to know your customer. You know, when you know your customer, you will put them in a segmentation that you could utilize what you have under you as a business to really attract and where to invest in. That's one of the things that we recommend from both of our sides. Here, there is the second question is, Joey, what can you advise to private medical clinics where in country people are advised to stay home, but they need to be consulted in our clinics?
Yeah, so did that go to you, Walid, or who said that? I'm not getting the question.
Yeah, it went through a chat. So it came to me. Yeah.
So say that again, Walid.
Okay, sure. It's what can you advise? What can you advise to private medical clinics where in countries people are advised to stay at home, but they need to be consulted in our clinics?
Yeah. Yeah. So it depends if the again, I'm not a medical industry expert, but I depends on what the private medical clinic does. So if it's not related to COVID-19, and if it's non-life-threatening medical, you could shift to telehealth. So you can use video conferencing to give consultations. So telehealth is really starting to expand now because of this crisis, the fact that people can't go. So I think, if you're a clinic, you should try and offer a telehealth type service But of course, the telehealth professional giving the consultation is a medical person. It's not a call center person, but it's a proper medically trained person that perhaps belongs to the clinic. It's a doctor or it's a nurse able to give some consultations that don't require examinations over a video conferencing type scenario. So that would be my recommendations if you're a private medical clinic. Sorry, is there more? There's another.
He's thanking us to telehealth is noted. Thanks, sir. Thank you. He's saying
oh, okay. Here we go. Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. Yes, he's here. A question for Joey. Not really customer service related, but related to the crisis. In your opinion, which country is dealing with this crisis in the best and most effective way, so other countries should follow in their footsteps? Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to be a little bit biased here because I'm currently in Australia and I'm witnessing what's happening here. So in Australia, if you look at the COVID-19 numbers globally, we have almost flattened the curve here. And we've done it without having, people can still move around here. They can still go to the shops. They can still go exercise outside. There are some severe penalties if people break the social distancing laws. But what we did was close off our borders very quickly. And we found that a lot of the infections came in from cruise ships. And so we stopped that immediately. We shut our borders to anyone coming in. And we're kind of blessed in Australia because we're a big island. So we're surrounded by water and we have a lot of land. So I think the social distancing and the fact that the government, at first the government made a bit of didn't do it very well. They provided confusing messages. They were slow to react to the social distancing, and we probably could have contained it even faster. But thankfully they went hard, getting people to stay home, putting restrictions about socializing, and enforcing through the police the social distancing. So the police are visible everywhere. They're handing out fines. And so people don't want to get fines, and so they obey that. But we've managed to retain a level of freedom in moving around without having to request it from the government or whatever. That's probably the best example, only because I'm here and I've witnessed what's actually happened.
I don't think so. There is. Let us give a few seconds if anybody would like to ask an additional question. Let's see. If that, we could go to the last slide. I think so. No, there is a question here. 1 minute. Okay. Hi, Walid. It's really nice seeing you again. Do you recommend opening more digital channels for customer to reach our organization during the pandemic? I think so. We know our friend here, and he's Nawaf is asking, do you recommend opening more digital channels? Now the digital channels, I think so in Saudi, if we're talking in Saudi, you're talking about Twitter. I don't want to, do a campaign on any social media, Twitter and WhatsApp, basically. So what do you recommend, Joe, here?
Look, I think, yes, definitely every organization needs to re-examine their digital strategy. And but this is not a quick fix. That's the other thing. If you don't currently have this, it's not like you're going to be able to offer, some might be able to move quickly, but others it's going to take some time. So you need to work out, what is the interim solution look like, and what is the long-term solution look like. But definitely look at your digital channels and opening them up, because this pandemic could last till September or even longer. So, but I think here we go. Social, yeah. So I think we'll probably reach the end because of time. What I might suggest is we're going to have the webinar recording on our YouTube channel, and Waleed can be able to send you the links and details. And I think we have some contact details, Waleed, if you wanted to close up.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you for everyone who attended. Thank you, Joey, for really accepting this. I hope this will be just the beginning, and hope that this will be also the beginning for COVID-19 to start decreasing. And we hope that we could really, from our side, both of us, to anybody who attend, that we have gave an advice that to put someone and help to put anybody in a track of understanding, or even in the minimum way. This is only one of the sessions that we are planning to do, both of us, and Businessway's tracking. Joey, I don't have more words to thank you. I know now in Sydney, the time, I think so, it's after midnight. Am I correct?
No, it's 8:10.
Basically, it's over the sleeping time for you. I know, because you sleep early. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to do this. Anything from your side you would like to highlight?
No, look, it's a pleasure. And I think, if you want any COVID-19 advice, I'd be happy to give it to you. Happy to do it on a complimentary basis. If you want to do a video conference call, we'll make it available to any of the attendees.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. وشكرا للجميع، وإن شاء الله نراكم عما قريب. و keep safe. There is one chat. Somebody saying, okay, thank you. Faisal, everyone is saying thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bless you. نتمنى لكم الصحة والعافية والأمان جميعا، والله يستر عليكم.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Joe.
All right. Thank you.